lose this water. Okay. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us for Prima90 Live Q&A. We're here with Mike Mutzel. I'm Joe Rignola. I'm here with Mike Roseline, of course, partner in crime.
What's up?
Everyone say hello. Make sure
Hello.
you can hear us okay.
I can see the chat box this time.
Awesome. Mike has moved up. Michael upgraded. I have to say Michael and Mike because otherwise it's just going to be too confusing.
Make him Mike. I'll be Michael.
Yeah, Michael upgraded from his Commodore 64 yesterday, so we should be good to go.
Joe, before we get rolling, I get a box that keeps popping up that's a warning. Never mind. I'm just going to keep clicking it away. Some sort of virus protector thing I have on my screen. On my browser doesn't like me having the access to the attendees list, I think.
Oh, okay.
All right, we're good.
PC thing. All right, folks. Once again, thanks for joining us. Mike Mutzel, thanks so much for being here. This is going to be a blast.
My pleasure.
As you can see, Mike's joining us today from a car. No big deal.
Yeah.
It's so rad, man. It's really cool. Gotta love technology, and it actually looks pretty good. It actually looks better than some people who have, direct connect to their computer. So that's pretty cool.
Right.
All right, folks. Anyone want to start with some questions, or Michael, or do you guys have something you want to say before we get started?
I'm just excited, man. The interview with Mike was a lot of fun, and we got good feedback on it. So I'm curious to see where his answers go with some of these questions.
Sure.
Awesome.
Yeah, let's fire away.
Cool. We still have some Megaspore questions coming in. We'll try and get to some Megas. Can we reorder Megas?
I got it. I'll deal with it later.
Yeah, we'll talk Megaspore later. Yes, but you can reorder. So we're talking sleep today, stress, hormones, gut health, pretty much anything. But Mike's awesome interview was a lot about sleep. And if you got the email, well, if you're here, you probably know that sleep is probably one of the most important things you can have for good health. After I watched your interview, Mike, I went out. I didn't go out. I ordered those orange glasses and a salt lamp.
Oh, there you go. Nice.
Yeah, it's really cool. And then I realized if I'm working on graphic stuff for like a website, I can't use the glasses because I need to see color.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true. I get the Flux app on my computer, which dims the screen to like the redder color at night, and then the glasses, and then I can't tell what color is what. But I generally don't have to. You're the web color guy.
Right. Exactly.
Documents, so I'm boring.
No,
right.
Mike, you're not boring.
So I can't see.
Am I missing something here? Because there's 70 people here and no one's asking anything. So come on, folks.
Mine seems to be locked up a little bit.
Yeah, maybe there's something going on here.
A little delay.
Yeah, that might be a lag here, but yeah, I'm getting like a choppy kind of thing going here too. Sorry, folks.
I've got one from TJ. He's a friend of mine, resetting sleep circadian rhythms. Mike, he's coming from really far late nights into late mornings into trying to get back to earlier nights, earlier mornings, and considering melatonin. And watched your interview with me, and you talked about melatonin for resetting sleep cycles, using it. He was wondering on recommended dosages and if you had a favorite brand. He went to the store and saw all these different melatonins and figured things might be brand important when you're dealing with a hormone. So I didn't know if you had a preferred product that you like with melatonin.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think melatonin is great for resetting your biological clock, and then also, like we talked about during the interview, just getting natural sunlight first thing in the morning. But when it comes, melatonin is kind of a commodity, honestly. So I would just find a good, I like some of the professional brands, Zymogen. There's other brands as well. I think Thorne has a good one. But I would stick to one of the professional brands if you can. and just make sure that you're also getting natural light. And in terms of dosing, you know, the studies have actually shown that as low as 600 milligrams is, or I'm sorry, they come at 600 micrograms. So you can start out at under a milligram and get pretty nice dosing. But most research was on 800 to 1600 milligrams. So that's kind of where people start. You know, I recommend folks start at, you know, around 1
You
milligram.
mean 1600 micrograms?
Micrograms, right?
1600, yeah, it'd be 1600 micrograms. Yeah, 1.6 milligrams. Sorry. Yeah, 1600. You could do really high doses.
Say we're going to have a bunch of people knocked out by the end of this interview.
Yeah, right.
I've been since this project started, I've been doing about 500 micrograms a night, and it's helped.
Oh, that's good.
I'm gonna need a lot. Gonna need a lot of help after this, though.
Right.
So Lynn's got. I hope that answered the question. But we've got them rolling in now. So, how do you deal with the situation where the sympathetic nervous system is activated at night during sleep?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it comes back to kind of what we talked about during the call, you know, and making sure that you're doing nighttime routines that are going to unwind your sympathetic response. So from a supplemental standpoint, you can use different adrenal adaptogens, ashwagandha, rhodiola, schisandra, things like that can really help to kind of reset that pattern. But basically, when your adrenals are firing at night, it just means your circadian clock is out of whack, you know. And then you get like a hypoadrenal state later or earlier in the day when you should be in a hyperadrenal state, like first thing in the morning. So really, we just want to reset the clock. And so getting natural light in the morning, eating food in the morning, you know, exercising if we can in the morning, not exercising too late, taking melatonin, turning out the lights and so forth. But also heart math. That's one of the things I think we talked about, Mike, is heart rate variability monitoring and doing, you know, evening routines that are congruent with activating the parasympathetic branch of the nervous system. So yoga, tai chi, walking, heart rate variability, meditation, anything like that that's going to increase that, what I call kind of the, you know, a lot of people have traveled on a commercial airline before. You know, when we take off, that's, you know, the ascension of the flight is pretty intense. No one's moving around, you know, not a lot of the functions on the flight are operating. However, on, you know, when we're cruising at cruising altitude at 3,800 feet, or sorry, 38,000 feet, you know, everyone's walking around, the stewardess and flight attendants are moving around, people are eating food and so forth. So we want to be in that, you know, 38,000 feet cruising altitude, and that's that parasympathetic state. And so to get there, evening routines, melatonin, the adrenal adaptogens can really help there.
Can you take those adaptogens at night?
Yeah, you can. I mean, they're you know, the science is kind of doesn't really say exactly. I mean, what I personally find is you can take them any time. You know, it's kind of weird to say, but they're smart herbs, you know, and so they're going to adapt if you're, you know, in a hypercortisol type state and you're very stressed out and so forth. They're going to help during the day for anxiety, but they'll also help at night to reduce adrenal rhythms as well. So I would do, you know, kind of get into like 2 twice a day for a lot of these adaptogen products you could do. Just make sure it's not too stimulating. Some of these products have Pan-X ginseng and red Korean ginseng, which is very stimulating, and you wouldn't want to take that at night. So
right. Yeah, that makes sense. Any other supplements is another question from Melissa. Any other supplements that you recommend? Maybe some herbal supplements or something like that specifically for sleep?
You know, I mean, just things that you can buy at the grocery store, like chamomile. You can make chamomile tea. That's another one. Valerian root, but that can be a little, you know, there's kava and valerian root, you know, if you want. But that does kind of have that drowsiness type effect. So I think, you know, most people tend, in terms of, you know, getting the most out of the supplements, like rhodiola and ashwagandha and American ginseng have so many other health benefits besides just helping with that adrenal fatigue and adrenal stress and so forth, that you can, you know, in terms of like reducing the inflammatory response, improving cognition, improving energy, you know, metabolism. So that's why I like those herbs, because they have what we call pleiotropic effects, meaning they don't just help with stress, they help with all these other things. And so I think that's important to kind of look for. But, you know, I make chamomile tea at night. You know, we do that. Kava you can do. There's some liver issues with that. But when I was in Hawaii about a year ago, we had kava tea. And that was pretty cool. You know, it's really kind of sedative, so you can use that at night. But those are some of the things I'd recommend.
Michael's all about the kava.
Yeah, we've got a Hawaiian themed coffee shop like a block and a half away that makes. They've got the like crystallized dehydrated kava to where you don't have to steep it. You don't have to do it's like you just powder it. You throw it right in smoothies. You can throw it in cold smoothies or hot drinks. And I'd never had it before. And the first time we drank it, my fiance has some food sensitivities that are pretty severe. And the first time we drank it, your mouth gets kind of numb,
Right.
tingly. And she looked at me and was like, "Does your mouth feel funny? Is your mouth weird?" And I was like,
Yeah.
"Yes," because she thought she was having like anaphylactic shock. But
Oh
no,
man,
it
that is
chills you
funny.
out for a good half hour. It's good stuff. I know there's different ways to consume it, but it's pretty cool stuff.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, valerian chamomile. Valerian makes me really like groggy though.
Yeah. Yeah, that really does. There's another herb there, or sorry, another botanical called phenibute, Phenebute, and so there's a product by neuroscience called Cavanase. It's almost like drug-like how it affects you. So that's another one that people can use if they're really, if they're resorting to like, if the natural stuff doesn't really work, like we're talking about, you can take it to that next level with Cavanase, or I think Biodex Research has a product, and then maybe Designs for Health has one, but it's Phenibute. So you don't want to use it a lot or long term, but that can really kind of help, at least to kind of get in that, reset the biological rhythm if nothing else is working.
Awesome. Okay.
I'm scanning.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Katie. Katie says, I have no problem falling asleep, but staying asleep, not so much. I wake up 2 to 3 times per night. Why?
A lot of that can be hormonal and blood sugar, so I would say, first kind of rule out blood sugar issues, make sure that, well, first of all, rule out caffeine in the afternoon. So some people do, coffee at, 5 or 6 o'clock, and then they wonder why they can't fall asleep, right? So let's say rule out that, and then evening exercise, alcohol use in the evening, so alcohol will interfere with REM sleep. And then look at maybe, EMF exposure too. Is there light shining through? Is there noise? Stuff, is the cell phone on? All that will interfere with sleep. And then look at the blood sugar issue. So what happens is some people when they fall asleep and have blood sugar issues, they dip at night. In terms of like serum glucose, and then so the adrenal glands will kick in, glucagon will fire up, and so then they wake up. Another thing is just drinking too many fluids at night. A lot of people are working and busy during the day, and they forget to drink water. Then they get home, and then they have some wine with dinner and a lot of fluids, and then they're got peeing. But then also, progesterone, insufficiency can lead to sleep issues. And I'm not a hormone expert, but know a lot of doctors that have really good feedback with individuals, particularly women that wake up at night and so forth. And progesterone seems to really help with that. And I don't know the whole mechanism there, but there's some good data there. So I would look at that as well.
I had a similar question, but it was from a guy. Is it a different answer? I guess is what my general question is.
Men can do well on progesterone as well. So, but also low testosterone can affect sleep, and so that's another thing too. I mean, if want to look at and kind of see what's going on there with testosterone and growth hormones involved in sleep as well. So. If people are stressed out, not eating well, not exercising properly, not recovering, overtraining. I know, when I'm overtraining, I tend to have sleep issues as well. So many things to look at. I don't know if there's like one silver bullet, but I would say definitely look at kind of the blood sugar stuff and seeing what's going on there, and then the progesterone issue and some of the alcohol consumption.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, alcohol, it helps you fall asleep maybe if you're super stressed out. I know a lot of people that need their glass of wine to fall asleep at night, but I know I used to have a really unhealthy lifestyle. Joe and myself have talked about this with our audience quite a bit, and I used to bartend for 8 years, and I drank a lot. Not, I mean, all the time, but I would have, a few glasses of wine, and I'd fall asleep, and I'd wake up every night, every single night, or you'd sleep 9 hours and feel like you slept 4. And I learned later on that it just destroys that deep REM sleep and doesn't allow you to get the real sleep that you're looking for.
Yeah. Everything that Mike said during his answer was like, I'm doing like all that right now. Maybe not the alcohol, but everything else, it's, but
sure, Joe, we believe you.
Well, anyone here who's on my email list knows that I'm like really super honest about being human, and where's the bourbon?
This project has been a true test of us putting our money where our mouth is as far as some of these practices go. So,
Right.
Well, we're gonna,
we've got a good.
when this thing kicks off on March 15th is when the modules start kicking. We're doing it along with everyone else, so we're gonna be right in there with you guys. So
We're gonna need just as much help as they do after these last few months. So,
so we hope
awesome.
everyone joins us for that. Prima90.com.
We've got a good one from Pam. I've been reading your book, Belly Fat Effect, and I'm wondering how long after you implement the protocols, i.e. changing up your diet, adding the supplements, before you might start seeing improvements with your gut health. I've been following a paleo diet for about a year now. Sounds like she just got your book and started with some of the recommendations in your book.
Sure. Yeah, so most people notice significant results after 45 days. Initially, though, when you're changing your diet around, adding a lot of fiber, adding a lot of color and phytonutrients, it's really common for folks to get gas and bloating and so forth initially. And so that's one of the things where I was actually just skiing this past weekend with some friends in Colorado, and one of them happened to be on antibiotics for, they're all actually doctors, medical doctors, and one got a strep throat and so forth, and felt it would be good to go on Z-Pak, and so we had a polyphenolic-rich dinner, some of the stuff that we recommend in the book, and he was super gassy and super bloated. He's like, oh man, I'm not going to eat this food anymore. It was onions, garlic, turmeric root, ginger, and a bunch of great stuff in butternut squash, and we had elk and all that. It's really a healthy meal, and he was really gassy and bloated. So, but over the course of then 3 days, it got better for him. So I think some people might initially notice even maybe exacerbation of their symptoms, temporarily, and then that addresses that whole SIBO thing, which we can dive into. But most people, what I've gathered, prior to writing the book and then after, within 3 weeks to 45 days is when they start to notice significant shifts, and then some of the drastic cases have been quicker. But in terms of belly fat, waist circumference, weight loss, and so forth, see some pretty nice shifts after 2 months. So, and awesome. Generally, for folks who I recommend, in terms of weight loss is a concern, a lot of people want to lose a lot of weight quickly, but that's actually not recommended. So, because you actually start to lose muscle, which is counterproductive because your muscle tissue is where you burn fat. So, really just nice, slow and steady, just like learning or growing or making money, you don't want a fly-by-night type fix. You want this to be a long-term shift. So, that's kind of how I look at it.
Cool. You want to talk about adrenal fatigue? We've got, well, she doesn't say adrenal fatigue. It says, can you discuss adrenal issues and best protocol for adrenals? That's a pretty broad question, but you want to?
Yeah, maybe adrenals, how the adrenals can affect sleep and circadian rhythm, or back and forth, how poor sleep or circadian offset affects adrenals, and how to get them on the same page.
Mm-hmm. Sure, I guess I could tackle that. Yeah, I mean, like we talked about in the interview and kind of mentioned so far, it's just, natural light during the day, avoiding lights at night. So the adrenal glands, if your rhythm is imbalanced, should really fire upon awakening. And one of the major cues for getting the adrenals going is natural light. And so, we see people, they wake up and they get in the train or get in their car, they don't get a lot of light during the day, and then they're exposed to a lot of light at night on the computer and iPhone and TV. And so the adrenal glands get confused. So I think it's very important to expose yourself to natural light, and then to do relaxing things at night and avoid light at night. And so that's, I'm not an adrenal expert, but recently did a podcast with Alan Christensen, and we, kind of talked about that, and, how people are just not getting light during the day. So we see this circadian rhythm malalignment. So I think it's really important, but the adrenals play such a huge role in, the stress response, blood sugar regulation, and the whole HPA axis, all these other hormones. So it's really important to not neglect them, even though they're these small little walnut-sized glands, on the top of our kidneys. They're so important for physiology. So, but I think the biggest cue is light, so getting natural light during the day is huge.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Right. We've got a couple of other questions.
I got one that involves Dr. Christensen, if we could jump into that, because he just mentioned he was on a podcast with Dr. Christensen. Mm-hmm. One of the questions mentions him by name, so I figured it would be a good time to jump into that. Sure. I have a question about carb timing during the day. Mike says carbs in the morning, but both Dr. Alan Christensen and Dave Asprey /bulletproof say carbs at night. Can he explain any discrepancy there or why there's a discrepancy, please? And thank you. From
Yeah,
Aaron.
that's such awesome question, Aaron. I'm glad you asked that. This is really confusing for a lot of people. And so, I tend to everyone's different, so what works for me, I can stay lean year round, have a six-pack year round if I have carbs in the morning. That's just me because I do a lot of exercise first thing in the morning, and then again, do like cardio and walking and yoga type stuff in the morning, and then my routine is then to do weights in the afternoon and evening. And so there's nothing wrong with doing a lot of protein in the morning, but kind of the rationale with that is, you want your adrenals to release cortisol and noradrenaline and adrenaline in the morning. And the way to kind of keep that, if you have carbohydrates, the thinking is that will kind of lower the cortisol and so forth, and it goes against your biological rhythm. So that's kind of the pro-carbohydrate at night group, lean protein and fats in the morning group, which would be Dave Asprey and Alan Christensen, which I think for a lot of people that works well. That doesn't really work well for me. I tend to get low blood sugar, irritated, and then my wife's the same way. A lot of people that I've worked with are the same way. So, and based upon our circadian rhythm biology, we're most carbohydrate sensitive first thing in the morning. And through lunch, we become more insulin resistant and resistant to absorbing and processing carbohydrates as the day goes on in terms of the molecular biology. And so that's where, I think where I would disagree with that statement that we should have more carbs at night. I know that's the Carb Night program by John Kiefer, and then, obviously Dave Asprey and Alan, which are very smart, very fit, intelligent folks, but, I like to look at the science, and the molecular biology shows that our gut is really active. We're most insulin sensitive in the morning and the afternoon. So, I personally, that's when I consume my carbohydrates. Now that said, if you're super fit, you're super active, you're training heavily, you can have carbs all day long. It's not going to affect you. But everyone is so different, and so a lot of this stems from one research study. It was published, I think, in Journal of Clinical Nutrition and Metabolism that showed that individuals were able to shift their leptin circadian rhythm by having more carbohydrates at night. But what's interesting about that 8-week study is they never showed body fat changes at the end. So the initial parameters, they looked at leptin, they looked at insulin, they looked at fats and glucose, they looked at body fat percentage and so forth, and they showed that, yeah, eating carbs at night will skew your circadian rhythm in terms of leptin release, but they didn't show any beneficial changes in weight loss or body mass index. So that's where, and I don't know why they didn't show that data. They measured it initially. So I just think there's no one right way. It's what works for you and your activity level and your hunger level. Some days you may be really inactive, but you're recovering and you're going out with friends and you want to have some sweet potatoes and yams. There's nothing wrong with that. You're not going to, get dysbiosis and get really overweight, from that. So I think there's definitely conflicting perspectives there, but it's really based upon you, what your activity level is, and what your goals are. Are you trying to gain strength? Are you trying to burn fat? Are you trying to just feel good and have good energy? All those have different outcomes and demands in terms of macronutrients.
Yeah, I mean, I with this project and the workload with this project and the added stress, I just arbitrarily added carbohydrates into my diet all day long, and I lost weight. So
right.
Yeah, it's just being used right away because of the stress that I got.
Me too. I've been eating more carbs the last week or month, like potatoes, rice, stuff like that, and I've lost weight too. And I used to blow up when I would eat more of that stuff. So I think the brain uses all the glucose, right? And we're using our brains.
Right.
I definitely need more glucose. You talked about a little bit about waking up in the middle of the night, but is there something about waking up at exactly 2 a.m.? I know that's something with Chinese medicine, but is there something about that 2 a.m. time slot that if you keep waking up and you're wide awake?
I did that personally last night. I did a talk this afternoon and stuff like that, so maybe that was part of it. I have no idea. I mean, I hear that too, like especially with women in middle age. I just like 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. at some predictable time, and I think it comes back to blood sugar and hormones. So not really sure.
That same question mentions hot flashes.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
Yeah, so I'm guessing that would be falling under the hormonal category.
Right.
And there's some great natural products for that. You know, Zymogen makes a one called Aromatate PN. It's a hops extract that does some really great things for hot flashes, you know, and so forth. There's a rhubarb extract on the market that does some really nice things for hot flashes. So if that's kind of the primary symptom and it's linked with these sleep issues, and I would look at something natural like that. And then going back to the progesterone, you know, you can, Jeff Grimm, who I did a podcast with recently, is super big on progesterone and has some amazing feedback for the symptom relief for the middle-aged ladies.
Excellent. And is there do you have a preference as far as how and where to get progesterone?
Yeah, you know, most of it is derived from the wild yam, and you can get it over the counter. You know, if you want to, I would suggest, obviously, you know,
Working with
if you
someone.
can, work with a doc.
Yeah.
You know, the integrative practitioner that kind of knows what they're doing, because, you know, you have all these different hormones work together, and so, you know, I think once you start experimenting with hormones, you know, they're fat soluble, they can stick around for a while. Unless you really know what you're doing, I would work with someone who has some expertise. Just get a couple visits and get your 24-hour urine tested for all the metabolites and kind of see where things are at and go from there instead of kind of messing around with it. Because they could stick around, you could drive different pathways the wrong way, and, you know, but in terms of supplements, like something like the hops extract or rhubarb root, I mean, that's not going to stick around forever. That's not going to change the pathway for, you know, perpetuity or anything like that. So you could, you know, kind of tinker around and see what works and what doesn't in that regard.
Cool. We have a couple of questions about supplements here. How do you feel about passion flower?
Yeah, I think that's a good one. It's usually found with like valerian root in terms of like in supplements, or you can buy the whole passion flower and put it in tea.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's nothing wrong with that. There's some great properties there.
Cool. Any reason to use melatonin instead of L-tryptophan?
Yeah, I mean, L-tryptophan is going to need some conversion. So I would say just go straight with melatonin. I mean, you have to go through L-tryptophan to 5-hydroxytryptophan to serotonin, then to melatonin. You need B6 in there for that conversion. So I would say just, if someone's having sleep issues, I would just use the molecule that's involved in sleep, which is, you know, melatonin. You know, if there's some stress and anxiety and food cravings, and serotonin might be an issue, you could start at, you know, kind of the, you know, upstream. But if we're just trying to tackle sleep, I wouldn't try and work on precursors. Just go with melatonin.
That makes sense. I had another thing I wanted to ask about that.
Sure.
Yeah, because she asked about dose. So somebody else asking about doses too. You said before just like the lowest possible dose and see how you go with that. What about duration? Is there a duration that you would sort of be on it and then come off of it?
That's a really good question. You know, so with most hormones, you know, when you take things for quite a while, you know, the thinking is that you're going to have some kind of endogenous production decline. Like, for example, you take testosterone for a long time, your testicles are going to shrink because the Leydig cells are not, you know, necessarily producing testosterone because you're getting it exogenously, for example. But with melatonin, it seems to be a little bit different. So if you can take it like 2 hours before bed, or, you know, at least an hour before bed, it seems to not have that negative effect in terms of endogenous production. So, but I would suggest use the lowest effective dose possible, like we talked about earlier, you know, 600 micrograms to 1,000 micrograms or 1 milligram, and kind of, you know, you don't want to be on this, if you just can't sleep, you can't sleep, then take it forever, fine. But, you know, we want to try and just use supplements as a bridge to get us where we need to be and then get off them and, you know, work on the other aspects of our life, you know, and work on that stress reduction, work on that getting natural sunlight, exercising, balancing the blood sugar, you know.
Cool. Yeah, there's in the program that we're the Prima90 program. We have Mike. What is it? The sleep optimization checklist. That's one of the tools that we have in that module.
Yeah. Well, there's a whole. I mean, there's a whole unit on it, and I've got. You know, Marley, come here. Sorry about that, guys.
Okay.
It's cool.
Marley hates skateboards.
It's totally cool.
Which I didn't know until I moved somewhere where people use skateboards as a means of transportation. But we've got a whole module on sleep stuff. I've got a video, Diane's got a video, and then we threw it into an easy, you know, some people like videos, some people like checklists. So
there you go.
We've kind of shortened the video into a checklist for sleep guide, but yeah, if somebody was doing everything on the checklist and implied melatonin and couldn't sleep, it would be time to work with a practitioner.
Right.
I think at that point. A lot of what Mike's talking about is on the checklists and on the recommendations. But so far as there's a good lead-in with melatonin, since we're on that topic, looks like Leanne is asking. I read that melatonin is not great for people with adrenal issues. I think it was in Nora Gedgaudas' book. Do you have any thoughts on that? I've not heard that before, but I didn't know if you have.
I mean, I think it would. I think it would be beneficial for people with adrenal issues, because you want to reset and recharge and so forth.
I would think so too.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Okay, I didn't know if I was out of the loop on something there.
Right.
All right.
Is
there any interactions with antidepressants? Is that what you're going to do, Joe?
Yeah, that's great. Good question.
Oh, that is a good one. Not that I know of. Not that I know of. I really don't think there is. There are different pathways. I mean, melatonin is structurally similar to serotonin and a lot of the serotonin reuptake inhibitors, but I don't think there's any interaction there.
Okay, I've not heard of any either, so I just thought I'd throw that out there. Joe, which one were you going to hit up?
I was looking at since we're on adrenals, there's another one about adrenal crash, stage 4, last May. This is from Julie. From tennis, Florida Heat. Wow. No sleep, too much work, and now working out at the gym. Eat organic, sleeping earlier, grounding, supplements. Any suggestions on best supplements for adrenal stage 4?
So stage 4. So we're talking basically flatline. That's when you would want to use something like Canex ginseng. So that's going to be real hot. Sometimes it's labeled as Korean ginseng. So it's very stimulating. So that's something you could look at. You could. Oh, thank you, sir. Good, man. How are you? Good. You too. So I would do the Canex ginseng. Let's see here. What else? There's another cool product called Botanibol by Natura Health Products, Donnie Yance's company. So he's got a product called Botanibol. I think that's really effective for some of these adrenal issues that people are really having prolonged suffering.
Okay.
Could you repeat that one more time? The last one, was it Botanibol?
I think we lost him for a sec. I want to ask him about freeze-dried adrenal too, especially for stage 4.
Like desiccated?
Yeah, and Julie. I don't know if Julie's working with a practitioner, but should she be working with a practitioner at that point?
At a stage 4, which I've only heard of it going just like, it depends on your model, but most models go to stage 3. But I wouldn't be doing any gym work personally. I would be doing yoga or Tai Chi or breathing exercises or walking. I wouldn't be doing any work in the gym at that point. The body needs to recover. Until Mike gets back, I've used the desiccated adrenal in that situation before. I use standard process, but I know there's other options out there. Licorice root is one that he didn't mention that is stimulating. Licorice root extract. We can ask him about it when he gets back.
Extends cortisol, right? Like the half-life of cortisol, licorice root?
Yeah, I think licorice root doubles the half-life of cortisol. So it's not that it makes you make more or stimulates necessarily, but it makes the hormones that are there kind of hang around, last, and function longer. So I'm going to shoot him a message. Let's see. Sorry about this, guys. Most of our people are traveling. Karan was in a hotel during a business trip traveling on Monday night. Mike is traveling. It's kind of
sidewalk.
Yeah, I think he's in Northern California.
Yeah. Well, it's light, so I know he's on the West Coast.
Yeah.
I'm just a little bit bitter. Dark and snowing. Shut up.
There you go. There you go. All right. Yeah, it's really nice out today. I won't talk about that. So he's got. Let me just scroll here. If there's anything I can answer here before Mike gets back, I would love to just keep them go.
Julie was
we'll talk about Susan. We'll hit up Mike. Oh, go ahead.
No, Julie was asking recommendations for progesterone, estrogen imbalance. He talked a little bit about progesterone, but
Supporting the liver is big for that too. The liver, generally we're overly estrogenic, which is a result of a combination of hormones in our food, xenoestrogenic chemicals in our skincare and home care products, and all these chemicals that we put on our body. Anything you put on your skin, you might as well eat. So keep that in mind when you're using the skincare products. But the hormones in the food, the estrogenic chemicals, the estrogenic compounds in plastic, combined with a high toxic load, which leads to liver congestion. The liver filters out and clears excess estrogen via the bile into the gallbladder, into the intestines, into the toilet. When the liver's congested or we're toxic, or when our digestion is backed up and we're constipated, you're not going to be clearing all that excess estrogen, which then tends to become dominant and will be low in progesterone. Now, I'm not saying that's the high stress causes conversion of estrogen, inflammation, high blood sugar, copper toxicity, metals, which would go back to toxicity, but it's not often the progesterone. It's the issue with the estrogen becoming excessive and too much being there. I got a message says working on it.
Okay. Yeah,
So,
if your thyroid could play a part of that. If you're constipated, the estrogen could be taken up again in the colon and recirculated. So there's a lot going on there with that. But
we'll try see if there's any others on there. I'm sorry, folks. We're trying to get it.
We'll get it.
Back,
We'll get
so.
it. But yeah, probably just taking extra progesterone may not be the you know the.
It can be helpful, like short-term symptom relief. I wouldn't recommend someone stay on that for an extended period of time.
Right.
Mike.
Melissa says, would you agree that excessive chronic food chemical sensitivities play into your adrenal issues? Absolutely. It's a stress. It's definitely a stress on the body, particularly if you don't know what foods that you're sensitive to and you keep eating them.
Absolutely. That could drive singularly drive someone to have adrenal issues, and we see it all the time. The food sensitivities, and I know there's going to be a follow-up on that with food sensitivity testing. I'm kind of on the fence with a lot of it. I know there's some that are good. There's no test that covers 100% of the types of sensitivities, nor 100% of the foods, nor is 100% accurate. It doesn't mean they can't be useful tools. The MRT test is pretty good. There's IgG, but nothing beats a solid elimination diet. And we've got elimination diet, therapeutic diets, all the diets in our meal plan system. And Diane's going to do a video on how to tell which one might be right for you. But basically, it's figuring out what they are. Food sensitivities can cause all kinds of problems. And chemical sensitivity, food sensitivities are more related to the state of health in your gut. Sensitivities to chemicals is generally a phase 1 liver detox issue, a congested liver. I would focus on the liver for that. I'm trying to get, maybe I'm going to send him, Joe, you want to resend him the
sure.
invite just so it's fresh on his email box?
Yep, no problem. Somebody asked our thoughts on Dr. Jack Cruz's leptin reset diet. I'm going to just probably not answer that one.
I don't want to answer that one. All right. I personally, I don't know it in full enough detail to answer it completely effectively, I guess is how my answer would be to that. There's a book called Leptin, who wrote it? Leptin, the Master, Leptin, Technology, Internet, Leptin. The book is called
Master Hormone or something like that?
Oh, of course. Mastering Leptin by Byron Richards. That's my source for where I would go to learn information on leptin. Jack Cruz is an interesting guy. I'm not gonna get into Jack Cruz and his leptin things. I had a personal disagreement with Jack, which clouds my ability
I
to answer
I
without any bias.
I've
So
talked to Jack. I have no personal issues with the guy at all. I'm just
I think it's a little
a little
extreme, and I
suspect.
think
Yeah, a
it's
little
not
suspect for sure.
necessary to get your hormones
Yeah,
back in order. That would
yeah.
be my
That's the
opinion
most
on it.
important. That's the most important
It
ingredient.
can
Yeah, it's not
it can
necessary.
work for like super crash weight loss goals of I want to lose whatever pounds in whatever time, which I don't personally recommend anybody to do. We're really trying to change the focus from that being the main point of someone's attention to building their health, and I think there's much easier, healthier, long-term, sustainable ways to get to where you want to go than by doing that. But just see if there's another one.
Oh, this is a good question. When Mike comes back, TJ again, who talked this. That's who talked you into the good logo, right?
Yes, TJ's the one
Thanks,
that talked me
thanks,
into the good
thanks,
logo, and he'll like
thanks,
hearing
TJ.
that on the air.
Does regular circadian rhythm enhance the lucidity of dreams and subsequently retaining memory of those dreams? That's a really good question. I have no idea.
I have no idea either. I was hoping Mike would get back for that one.
Yeah, we'll ask that again. That's a really good question. Joe, you asked to spell. You said to spell something. I'm not sure what you wanted us to spell, so let us know again.
Where is Joe? Please spell it. Yeah, I think it was the thing Mike said right before he went off. Botanibal from Yance
Okay, got you.
is what I got. Um, I know Yance is a herbal guy, Yantz, but Botanibal, I don't know. I don't. That's what I was asking him to clarify when he went off.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah. All right. Cool. Well, I'm going to keep rolling through these questions until Mike pops back on because we
Cool. Yeah. Go
need
for
to
it.
be supplying answers. Bone broth fasts are popular, but should that be avoided if adrenal fatigue is issue? Could it strain adrenals or would it be healing? Um,
That's a
the
good question.
initial phases of the GAPS diet and the SCD diet both they're not bone broth fasts, but that's as close to a bone broth fast as anything in a therapeutic diet gets.
Hmm.
It's not. I don't recommend a bone broth fast.
It depends on. It definitely depends on the person, but it's not. Wouldn't be my first thing, my go-to thing, and particularly I think if you've got adrenal issues, that wouldn't be the thing that I would do for sure.
Yeah, because every time you get really hungry, it triggers your adrenals. Like
Hmm.
it's a stress on the body. It's every time your blood sugar gets low, which it would if you were only consuming bone broth. It's triggers the adrenals to release cortisol. So I actually think it would be pretty stressful on someone with adrenal issues. I don't think it provides adequate nourishment. I don't. There's no healthy fat in there. There's no carbohydrates. I'm not personally a fan of extended fasts of any kind, except for maybe spiritual reasons or extreme gastrointestinal situations, but
Hmm.
especially if someone has glutamate issues, which is pretty complex to get into, but some people don't process glutamates very well and have glutamate intolerance. Bone broth could drive them into a anxiety-filled panic, and if they were doing a fast, it would be pretty
Yeah.
counterproductive. Um, but I don't know. I don't know what circles they're popular in. I've been asked that question a couple times, but over the course of a few years. Um, let's see. TJ does. Oh, that's the one we're gonna try to get to.
We did that.
I'm gonna.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm trying to.
I like
Make
TJ's other. TJ's got some good questions on naps to be avoided. We'll access to Mike too when he gets back. Naps to be avoided at all costs to ensure the routine of circadian rhythm. Are they okay occasionally? I think naps are awesome.
I agree that naps are awesome. I wouldn't rely on naps. Like
Right.
if you're, can't make it through the day without a
Yeah,
nap, I
that's
think
a
that
problem.
there's an
Yeah.
issue there. But no, I've seen naps being really. There's research behind naps being
Hmm.
pretty beneficial. Um, I just, if it's a thing where every day you're requiring a nap to make it through the day, I wouldn't. I would reconsider, what your nighttime. He mentioned a nighttime sleep, a
Hmm.
nighttime routine, and I was going to ask him to elaborate on that before we were done. on what he recommends for nighttime routine. But with my clients and in the program, we're going to call it lights out, where say 10 o'clock is your aim for sleeping time. Lights out would be 8:30, 9 o'clock, somewhere in there. And by lights out, I mean lights like these up above me, the screens, the phones, the computers, any of that stuff. I have 2 salt lamps. I don't know if you guys can see them, but there's 2 salt lamps up on top of that bookshelf over there. Those become my lights for in here at night, and I've got 2 more of those salt lamps in the bedroom. I've got these. These are the glasses that Joe was, I think, referencing earlier at the beginning, or we were going to get into them. But these are super cheap UVEX glasses, UVEX. These are found on Amazon.com.
It's like $5, right?
Yeah, they're like $5 to $7 or something. What they do is they prevent the blue and green light or white light from getting into your eyes. Not 100%, but pretty well, which is what prevents melatonin production, stimulates cortisol. So really, it's as simple as like bright lights at nighttime and fluorescent lights and artificial lights. Really, really, really catastrophic for circadian rhythms. And then a lack of bright lights, which Mike did discuss, are real bright sunlight, bright lights, those little light boxes that are about this big that people use for the seasonal affective disorder. Blast that thing in the morning for 10 minutes. Get all your lights on. Get outside. It's just as important to get the lights in the morning as it is to get out of the lights in the evening. And so that I like to tell people the pendulum will only swing so far at night if it's swung that far in the morning, and it gives them a good visual representation of our sleep habits begin when we wake up. So
yeah, I'm going to send Mike this direct link to see if this
he's having issues, I think, with I don't know if he was at a hotel or what his thing is, but I think he's having an issue getting reconnected. I'm trying to call him.
Okay.
So if you see any other questions there, Joe, just jump on them and start answering. I want to keep providing information to people. You didn't come on here to hear the answers from us, but we do have answers to most of these questions. And we'll bring Mike back on for a redo if we have to.
Sure.
So
sure. That's an easy one. Your thoughts on intermittent fasting for benefits for health? That is a big it depends answer. I think if you're already got your adrenals in order, and you've got a lot of your health in order, and you just want to try it and see if you get a little bump from that, maybe. Generally, I don't recommend it, particularly if you've got any sort of stress or you've got to be pretty chill, pretty non-stressed, pretty healthy to pull that off. And then there's also research that shows that it's much less effective for women. So.
Stephanie Ruper, who's one of our guest experts, has a whole article on that there's no research behind it for women, and that it's actually pretty catastrophic for women's hormones. I've seen if you combine like CrossFit with low carb with intermittent fasting, that's like the fast track to destroying your adrenals and hormone balance. From my experience, I've worked with a lot of women who have done that combination to themselves and ended up, just burnt out beyond all burnout. I'm going to call Mike and talk to him live on the air right now.
Nice. Now, I've tried intermittent fasting, and I do it every so often, but only when I know I'm not under any kind of stress. And I feel pretty good doing that. I get a little bit leaner from it, but to me, I don't really. That's not enough of a reason for me to do it, because it's definitely, when you get hungry, like Mike said before, your cortisol is going to increase. It's looking for some quick energy. It's going to, it's a stress on the body. So same with being able to carb for too long.
I've played around with it myself. I didn't see any benefits from it myself, but I did try and play around with it. I think, for people with digestive issues, I think for health reasons is what they were asking. I'm guessing is for digestive issues, but like, it does give the digestive system a little break where, maybe eating your dinner a little bit earlier, which plays into people who say they're not hungry in the morning too, because eating breakfast is huge for circadian rhythm also. And like Mike said, we're most insulin sensitive in the morning, so our carbohydrates in the morning are going to get into the cells better. Everything's going to metabolize better. Our digestion is more active in the daytime. for people who say I'm not hungry in the morning, eating dinner earlier, or if you are going to skip or skimp a meal over the course of a day, making it dinner instead of breakfast. I think he mentioned it on our interview. He said if you don't eat dinner, you're going to be hungry in the morning.
Right.
So it's if you want to do a form of intermittent fasting as far as, eating dinner, say at like 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock, and not eating breakfast until 8 in the morning, that's a 15-hour fast. That's a it doesn't matter that you were sleeping for part of it. That's a legit fast. It's not, 5 p.m. to noon the next day. How many times are your adrenals going to get hit, because when you're low blood sugar, adrenals release cortisol, adrenaline, spikes blood, it causes the liver to release sugar. So every time that your blood sugar gets low, it's taxing on your adrenals. If people are waking up in the middle of the night, I wouldn't recommend playing around with that. I would actually try a small protein snack before bed to kind of keep the blood sugar level. I don't know.
Yeah.
His phone went straight to voicemail as if it's out of range.
So he
or
probably
dead.
has no signal at all then.
Probably has no signal. I'm sure he's attempting to get back, but I'm going to keep doing my best I can to answer the questions, as much as we can for everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody's sticking around. Thank you for that. We're even adding more people.
We've got a ton of people here too. So, but as far as like therapeutic diets goes, there's 9 of them in the program, right? Nine different diets. One for
nine therapeutic diet meal plans, and they're not crazy elaborate. It's not going to be stuff you can't do. Kelly, who's developing for us, she even asked me, is it okay if there's, a leftovers, like this lunch, eat the dinner leftovers? And I'm like, please make that, because that's practical. That's how people live. Like we did, Mira and I, we recorded everything we ate for the last month in February. We took pictures of it. We took notes. I don't measure things. I don't time things, and I eat leftovers a lot. And we wanted to give you a peek into what it looked like functionally for a month, and we eat leftovers all the time. So it's there are going to be tons of recipes in there, but they're not going to be super complex. It's not going to be intimidating. It's not going to be things you can't do. But there's basic real food. There's a higher carb real food, a lower carb real food, and we'll talk about how to determine that for yourself. And then there's a SCD, GAPS, low FODMAPs, autoimmune paleo, which is an elimination diet for those with autoimmune conditions. We got a low histamine, and I think one other one, because histamine's become an issue with people with severe gut issues. So there are all the therapeutic diets in there. Serious sunshine envy. Sorry, Krista.
Yeah, exactly.
Joe's been dealing with me for months now, so we won't repeat the things that Joe says to me when I show him pictures of the sun. Was asking spelling of guana ball. Definitely not the spelling. That was Joe, I believe.
Yeah.
What was that? She put this is definitely not the spelling. Mine is definitely not the spelling either, so we're on the same page as that. If somebody wants to play Internet Investigator and let everybody know, that would be cool. I think what I read about melatonin was a concern about it causing you to produce less yourself. Mike addressed that. Thank you. Yeah, I asked him about that too when I interviewed him, because I had kind of gotten off the melatonin wagon a little bit, and he pointed me towards a lot of research and referenced Corey Schuler, Dr. Corey Schuler, who we also interviewed for the program, who will be on a live webinar tomorrow night, who It's a Small World was like one of Mike's mentors, and can answer a lot of questions about melatonin and hormones tomorrow too. We're going to talk a lot about men's hormones, testosterone particularly, but Corey is, oh man, go to his website and look at his credentials. Like this long of things that he's like on the board of and whatever else. So we'll talk about that. But yeah, I was under that same impression, and melatonin doesn't really fall into that category. It's not like estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. So I wouldn't say that I wouldn't recommend to someone to take it forever. Right. But I think you're safe for a little while, and it's always the lowest possible dose that works.
Yeah, like I said, I'm doing like 500 micrograms right now, and I'm taking that with an herbal blend too. Both pretty, but the herbal blend's pretty like just like an over-the-counter something called Deep Sleep, and that combination is fantastic for me.
Yeah, that's 500 micrograms. To be clear with everybody, that's half of 1 milligram.
Right.
Please do not go take 500 milligrams of melatonin.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm saying that's what I
don't know what would happen.
No.
Have a glass of wine instead if you're going to do that.
If you're getting,
can you take desiccated adrenal? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I'll just find some good ones to answer in here.
No, that's fine. I was just going to say, if you're getting like a melatonin in a pill form, then you probably won't make that mistake because you're not going to take more than one pill generally. But if you get melatonin drops, yeah, be careful with that. Go ahead, Mike. What were you going to say?
This is interesting. Alex, my brother has RA, rheumatoid arthritis, I'm guessing, as well as sleep problems. He took melatonin to help with the sleep, but it caused his RA to flare up. Do you know why that is? And is there people who should not use melatonin? I don't know the exact answer to that. Like, I can't say for sure. I know melatonin is produced and regulated in the gut and has a ton to do with gut microbiome, which we talked about on Monday night with Karan. And the microbiome itself has a lot to do with regulating what's called Th1 and Th2 immune function. Th2 overactive tends to be allergies, asthma, reacting to things that shouldn't be reactants, a lot of autoimmune issues. Th1 is the immune system that attacks viruses and is the innate immune system. Melatonin, I'm guessing, could have some sort of immune modulation effect where if someone was way out of swing in one of those ways, it could push it further that way or vice versa. With autoimmune conditions, usually when there's a flare-up by something, it's related to the immune system because that's an immune system disease. And so that would be my guess. I'll keep that one on here in case Mike pops back in, hopefully, and I'll ask him. If not, I'll do my best to find out an answer for you. If you want to hang out with us again tomorrow night, Corey would be awesome. Dr. Schuler would be awesome right on top of that too. So we'll keep track of that one, Alex, and we'll try to get it for you.
Yeah.
Here's one that I use pretty often. Holly, can you take desiccated adrenal with thiotrophine PMG by standard process, which is a pituitary glandular? That's actually a thyroid. It's not a glandular. PMG products from standard process are really unique, and I don't want to turn this into a standard process commercial or get really into products or things like that, but PMGs are protomorphogens. They, in essence, give the body the building blocks that they need to repair damage to a gland or tissue. I personally take several of the standard process PMGs. They're inexpensive. I take the liver, the brain, and the lung due to my previous unhealthy lifestyle, plus I've had 5 diagnosed concussions. They're not something that do quick. You're not gonna. PMGs aren't for like, bam, I feel so much better. It's like a long-term. I can't use the word stem cell to describe what they do, but it's similar if you know how stem cells function, where it gives the body the building block to make the tissue to make healthy cells. But desiccated adrenal with thiotrophine PMG is a combination I've used with a lot of people with adrenal and thyroid issues. Thiotrophine PMG with Hashimoto's, like autoimmune thyroid. There's the theory that the protomorphogen itself can almost act as a decoy for those antibodies, so they can go after that instead of after the thyroid to kind of give the thyroid a break. I know Dr. Kalish, who we interviewed for this program, uses the thiotrophine PMG with his thyroid patients and uses their desiccated adrenal as well. They have a pituitrophin PMG that's a separate product from the thiotrophine PMG that acts specifically on the pituitary. But that's, I mean, I hope that helped answer your question. But yes, I've had people take those things together. I don't know your medical history. I don't know your labs. I don't know your intakes. So I can't give you specific recommendations, but I've seen that before. I hope that was helpful. I think what I read about melanoma, intermittent fasting. How do you know if you have adrenal issues? Joe, you want to field that one?
How do I know if I have adrenal issues?
Yeah, just like, I mean, you could answer that for a really long time, but
yeah, not only that, but the symptoms are pretty similar to a lot of other things. So it could be adrenal. The symptoms of low adrenal and low thyroid are pretty similar. In fact, they may be
it's just
almost
basically
identical.
like, have you been under lots of stress? Like,
Yeah.
not just mental, emotional stress, but poor sleep, poor diet, late nights, screens at night, tons of overtraining or physical stress, like food sensitivities, if digestive issues, toxicity issues, if you're exposed to a lot of environmental toxins. You can kind of work backwards.
Right.
Like,
how's your lifestyle?
if those things are a big part of your life
and you've got
mental,
fatigue,
emotional stress.
yeah.
You know, if
Yeah.
those things are a big part of your life, and they have been for a while, it's likely that, you know, there's an issue there. The whole adrenal fatigue thing, I don't know if we should dive down that rabbit hole, but
Mm.
most research in physiology points to the idea that it's not the adrenals themselves that become fatigued or stop working properly. It's that there's a disconnect between the brain and the adrenals and the signaling
Right.
after lots of chronic stress and inflammation and toxicity. You know, are your sleep rhythms disrupted? Do you get really exhausted from things that other people don't get exhausted from? Do you not have the stamina you used to have? Are you depressed? Do you feel really tired in the morning even if you slept enough?
You could even be showing symptoms that would normally be associated with, an imbalance in hormones. And coupled with that, that stressful lifestyle and bad sleep and so forth, if you can put two and two together there, then there's a pretty good bet that you may need some support with the adrenals. But yeah, like Mike was saying, the problem may not be with the adrenals themselves. There could be something going on with your, hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal axis. So there's a disconnect basically between the brain and the adrenals.
Yeah, the big contributing factors to that are inflammation, which stems
Mhm.
from the gut a lot of the time, and toxicity. They're finding a lot of these environmental chemicals. I mean, we're exposed to, when I was doing the research for the unit on toxicity and talking to Michael McAvoy, who's like a wizard on that stuff, it's things you almost want to unlearn
Hmm.
because everywhere you go, you see it, and you know we're exposed to tens of thousands of chemicals generally on a daily basis if you live in an urban area. And most of them have never been tested for safety. And most of them, if they are tested at super small doses. So the new paradigm in functional medicine is leaning towards the idea of a high toxic load. They found, I don't remember, Diane knows the statistic, she's not here, on how many chemicals they find in the cord blood of new infants, babies that are born, and I think it was something like 200 different chemicals have been
Right.
found that, you know,
260 something, I think. Yeah.
it's absurd, and
Yeah.
we're born with these chemicals, and they're in our body, they're in our blood, they're fat soluble, so they go in the brain, and they screw with the signaling between different parts of the brain and the body. There's issues where they lead to what's that called, resistance of hormones, because a lot of these chemicals can bind to receptors on the outside of the cell where like hormones and neurotransmitters should go, so then they can't go there, but then the cell still isn't getting the thing, so then you're functionally deficient even though your levels are floating around all over the place like high. So like if someone has a thyroid test and their thyroid hormones come back normal, but they, you know, are exhausted, their hair is falling out, their eyebrows are falling out, their hands and feet are cold, it's the toxicity, you know, or something else that's causing the thyroid hormone not to
Hmm.
get in the cell. So it's similar with, I don't even know where we started on that one, but I think that was with adrenals. But it's the same
Yeah.
thing with adrenals. That same toxicity, inflammation can cause it's the hypothalamus to the pituitary to the adrenals, or the hypothalamus to the pituitary to the thyroid, or hypothalamus to the pituitary to the testicles or the
Hmm.
ovaries. Like that's the mechanism. The hypothalamus senses what's going on, signals the pituitary, says, hey, we need more of this X hormone. The pituitary then signals that gland to make that hormone. Along that line, things get disrupted. Nora
Hmm.
Gedgaudas' book called Rethinking Fatigue has really good stuff in there. Dr. Brian Walsh, if you look him up
Yeah.
on YouTube, he's
He's
got
been
a
talking
great
about that
video.
for years.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, he's way ahead of the curve. He's been mentioning that for a long time. The phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, or stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 on adrenals
Hmm.
is pretty outdated information. That's not really even taught in functional medicine circles anymore, and I don't personally use those terms anymore. If I do an adrenal panel and I see someone struggling, or if I see their numbers are super high, we know we need to calm them down. If it's
Right.
super high, you know, you need to calm them down and use, you know, the adaptogens like mentioned earlier. But most people I've run adrenal panels on, I'd say 90% are low across the board, not high. And people think they have high cortisol, but it's the whole system can't handle the stresses anymore, so the hormones are low across the board. But the body will keep trying to make them because it needs them, the stress hormones, because you're still under stress. So it's funneling all the, if you want to say, ingredients of hormones towards the stress hormones. Over there, over there, over there, over there. Over here, we have the sex hormones, testosterone, progesterone. Those are going to suffer, and that's when we see deficiencies across the board.
Yeah. Uh, Katrina is asking. There's so many different tests for things like gut gut hormones, immune system, and it can get overwhelming. Do you have a systemic plan to address each of these areas that is available? I get so overwhelmed that I end up doing nothing. Katrina, that is exactly why we're here.
That's like exactly why we created what we made. But
yeah, because we. Go ahead,
I'm
Michael.
going to read it. I didn't hear you, so go ahead and talk. I'm going to read her question.
Yeah. What we learned from getting ourselves healthy and working with clients, I mean, between the three of us, we've got like 20 years experience working with clients and helping people. What we learned is that there's a real specific order to do these things. And so that's why we created the program that we created. And if you haven't seen it, you can go to Primal90.com and see the whole layout of what the program is. It's 12 modules, and each module is on a different topic. And they're in a specific order because what we've learned is that you've got to do things in a certain way. And so if you just jump in the middle of this and just work on gut health or just work on hormones, there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle that you may be missing. And so we try to lay this thing out in a way that makes sense, and it's on purpose. We cover everything from your mental health and getting your mind right to the proper way to really go about weight loss, and then dive into things like gut health and hormones and things like that. So this is all of our years of experience, just and all of our passion and compassion just poured into this program, and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and and basically this thing's consumed our lives for the past 7 or 8 or 9 months, putting this together. And actually, Mike started like 2 years ago. So yeah, there is a system, and I think we nailed it with putting this thing together. It's going to help a lot of people. So yeah, it's overwhelming. That's one of the, for the past couple of years, we've been really listening to people like you and getting feedback about what it is that you really want, because the feedback that we got was that the summits are fantastic. There's a lot of great info, a lot of great experts, and the summits are great, but you feel overwhelmed. You feel like that exact line that you said, I end up doing nothing. I can't tell you how many times we hear that, because it's very overwhelming, and you end up just, I don't know what to do first, I don't know what to do. This person says one thing, this person says something else.
Most clients I've worked with have been to at least like 3 or 4 doctors and another practitioner and another 2 trainers and another, right. It's Lisa asked real quick, it's phenabute, I believe. Lisa said, can you repeat the pH term that Mike mentioned early on as a supplement for sleep? I have phenabute, which I wrote as PHENEBUTE. That was an ingredient in a product from a company called Neuroscience. He mentioned that Designs for Health also makes a product with phenabute in it. I have an account with and use Designs for Health quite a bit, actually, and they make great products. I can look and see if I can find it. He mentioned that was really strong and that it's almost like drug-like. So I would be careful.
Right.
With, but that's the word. That's the spelling. That's what you're asking for. So I don't think I have the spelling right, but it was phenabute was the word. So if you can find it, that's what you're looking for. Leanne says maybe he got hit by a parakeet. I heard them tweeting around him. They sounded dangerously close. No joke. We have flocks of green parrots here that people let loose a long time ago, like birds in this neighborhood. And so there's these parrots, and they look really cool, but they shriek like crazy, and there'll be like 60 of them on one power line, and you just hear all the windows shut down the street, and everyone here hates the birds. They're really pretty, but they're loud as all whatever. But it was weird to see parrots outside. I'm from Chicago. We don't have parrots.
That's a weird thing. We have pigeons.
All the parrots would be dead in about 5 minutes in February. Let me see. There are so many. All right. So yeah, with the testing, actually, the the more I've learned and the more people I've worked with, the testing is great. It can be a really good tool. There's certain bugs in the gut that, there's certain protocols for killing if they're there, if need be. There's certain conditions. If you're going to use hormones, you need to know your hormone levels. A saliva cortisol test is good, to get 4 times. It should be at least a 4-time test. They make 24-hour ones, but it should be a 4-time test. Hormones by saliva I like a lot better than blood generally. A comprehensive stool test can tell a lot of information. You can look for parasites, overgrowths, candida, like yeast overgrowth. Really good ones will look at levels of beneficial flora and how your microbiome is functioning. There's a simple urine test that's a GI, what is it called? The permeability screening for like leaky gut situations. If someone, the problem is that a lot of that's out of pocket, and I'm super conscious when I work with people of out-of-pocket expenses and try to limit that as much as possible. Whereas, if you're working with a doctor, good luck finding one that'll order all that stuff or even knows what they are. But a good functional medicine doctor, some take insurance, most don't, and don't get upset with them. The insurance is horrible to deal with from a practitioner standpoint. I know they have to hire additional staff just to be able to handle all the paperwork. But I use less testing now than I did 2 years ago, and I try to help everybody get their mindset right, their mental emotional state right, their subconscious programming right, their stress levels down, their sleep optimized, their diet in line, their movement, are they moving too much? Are they moving not enough? What's that like? What else is going on? Toxicity exposures, all these type of things. Let's work on a foundation. And if someone comes to me, and they've got all that stuff in line and they still have symptoms and it's still not working, sure, let's dive into some testing. But because testing is confusing is not a reason not to try to do those other things. Like very often it's a simple switch or a simple flip for a lot of things, but I actually do less testing. So, I mean, yes, it can be super confusing. If you have any questions on specific tests, shoot me an email. I'd be happy to give my experience with it or what I know about it or what I could recommend it. So I'm gonna go from there, but let me see.
Oh yeah, Katie, that's the order of those things I was talking about was the interviews that you watched for Prima90. They actually fit into each of those modules, so they kind of fold in. So you can watch the interviews again, and then you can watch a video with Mike, who goes even deeper into the physiology of things. But then Diane's video is actually a very practical video, an action video. So it's like, okay, now you've got all this information, what do you do with it? And so Diane's video, and then there's the guides and checklists and worksheets that are in each module too. So there's literally no stone left unturned. All the information that you get, we teach you how to put that into practice and really use it. So it no longer becomes overwhelming. That's the reason we did it. So just to answer, not to turn this into a huge commercial, but I want to make sure that was clear. Marianne says, after eating virtually no carbs for 2 years, how do I safely reintroduce veggie carbs without shocking my system and gaining more weight? As I do have sarcopenia, I don't want to mess up my body.
Too, I think.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Where is that? 2 years to date, I've been seriously eating virtually no carbs, seriously to my regret. Although I will admit I feel much better without carbs, as I feel healthiest with more ample fats. With several hormonal, neurotransmitter, and organ issues, and a very leaky gut, I was advised to eat basically healthy fats and wild-caught and grass-fed meat, which I have been doing. Due to digestive issues, I have not been eating veggies for those 2 years. Wow. Unsurprisingly, my poor adrenals are taxed, and they have been improving. But they have been improving. How do I safely reintroduce the veggie carbs without shocking my body and gaining more, as I do have belly fat on my sarcopenic body? All right. I don't know what you've tried or what you haven't tried. I would look into SCD. It sounds like the order that SCD, specific carbohydrate diet, the order, we interviewed Jordan from SCD Lifestyle for our program. There's an interview with him, but the order that they reintroduce vegetables is very specific, hence specific carbohydrate diet. Also, something like digestive enzymes. I use combo products with my clients that have HCl and digestive enzymes. I use Zypan from Standard Process. I use Digestzymes from Designs for Health. I know Enzymedica makes probably the best standalone digestive enzymes on the market. They're pricey, but digestive enzymes could be really helpful. Having just cook them thoroughly when you first start. That's a big misconception that if you have gut problems, you should eat all raw food.
Yeah, no, it's horrible.
Raw plants are really difficult to digest for someone with impaired digestive function. I don't know who you've worked with. I don't know who told you, because cutting out the carbs temporarily to help a gut issue can be really helpful, but it's not healed if you still can't eat them. I would consider looking into the Megaspore that we talked about on Monday night with Karan to help with the flora and lowering inflammation. I'd really have to know more information.
Yeah.
L-glutamine can be helpful to heal the gut lining, which aids in digestion. Making sure your digestive eating habits are good. We talk about that a lot. I did in the digestion unit, but things as simple as being at a table, eating a meal, not stressed when you eat, smelling your food, preparing your own food, chewing your own food, not drinking a ton of liquid during a meal. Simple eating hygiene, I guess I would call it, goes a long way. But I would look into SCD. It's and look into that. We have a SCD meal plan, or as part of our meal plan templates, but I would look into that. That would be my answer.
Yeah.
I don't know if you got anything to add, but I think SCD would be the safest route to go.
Yeah, it's got to obviously be very slow, starting probably with less starchy vegetables. I would with the sarcopenia, I understand you don't want to put more weight on because of the bone issue, but you know, making sure that you're getting adequate micronutrients is just as important, and you may not be if you're just completely avoiding carbohydrates. So this is something that Mike or I would probably work months on with someone to get this just right, to try and help. But you know, we can just do the best we can.
Yeah, it sounds like some one-on-one help could be definitely important.
Yeah.
Great insights and suggestions. Thank you, Julie. I've seen
Jan has the correct spelling of phenibut.
There she is, Jan. Ding, ding, ding. Jan's the winner. It's phenibut. Phenibut. That is an ingredient in products that Mike was talking about. I'll have to get, I'll get in touch with him, and we're gonna make this up to you guys somehow. So we'll get in touch with him. We'll either do a redo with him, or we'll get a bunch of these questions to him and get him answered in like a written thing or something. But I know that was an ingredient he talked about that was super strong. What test is suggested to see if you have enough stomach acid for digestion? Julie, that's a great question. I used to use a stomach acid test that involved swallowing a capsule with a tiny little string inside while you hold on to the string. Yes, that's a real thing. You lay on your side on a table for, you have to eat a bunch of protein beforehand, a half hour beforehand, and then you do that, and then you remove the string. And there's a little pH marker droplet thing that lets you see what the pH is. I had such an overwhelming percentage of people have insufficient or no stomach acid production that I stopped running the test. There are blood markers and markers on a hair mineral test which would indicate stomach acid insufficiency. If someone is anemic or has low albumin or low BUN or a bunch of other blood markers that are indicating protein deficiency, but they eat plenty of protein. If someone's deficient in B12, because B12 is completely dependent on stomach acid, if you take now or ever have taken antacids or PPIs or the acid blockers, that stuff is terrible. I had so many people I'd say 9 out of 10 easily. I learned that test at Emma Lane's gut course, which Emma Lane is another interview that we have in our program, and she's awesome. I believe was she up? I don't remember if she was up today. I don't remember if she's up in the Encore week right now. The whole thing's a tornado. But Emma was one of our interviewees, and she's great. She's from the UK. She's world class, Czech Institute faculty. She's an ND also. I went to her gut healing course for practitioners a year and a half ago, and we learned that test. And this was a room full of practitioners. There was 24 of us, I think, and all but 4 of us had less than optimal stomach acid production. Mine fell somewhere in the middle. Half the people didn't have barely any that showed up. Some of us were in the middle, and then a couple people had, full-on 1 to 2 pH on there. But I don't use the test anymore because it's pretty invasive, and almost everyone tested that they don't have sufficient. So I just work with everyone to maximize stomach acid production, maximize digestive juices and capability, and healthy digestion practices. Apple cider vinegar, a little bit in water about 10 minutes before a meal can help with that. Lemon juice, same thing with lemon juice, or Swedish bitters. Swedish bitters is try to find a non-alcohol one if you can. Teaspoon or so, switch it around in your mouth. Tastes like Swedish bitters. It's strong stuff. Swish it around for a little bit, wash it down with a little water. That really gets things going. If you have chronic diarrhea, do not use Swedish bitters. It has senna in it, which is a laxative herb, and it will not work well for you. But those are some options. I hope that was helpful for you, Julie.
Can I reverse? This is a good one. Yeah, there's one more here that we could probably just give some general advice to. Can I reverse Hashimoto's even though I work night shifts on and off?
I sent her a personal message to that.
Yeah, that's in general, I guess my first answer is it depends on how far along your Hashimoto's is. I think there are some people who are going to be on thyroid hormone forever if there's enough tissue damage done. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, working overnights is one of the most detrimental things someone can do as far as almost every single thing goes. I hate to say it, like I wish there was a different answer to it. There's not. With autoimmune, the immune system is modulated so heavily by those circadian rhythms. Hashimoto's as a whole, if it's been untreated for long enough, can have enough damage to the thyroid where someone will need to be on thyroid medication no matter what they do. Could you lessen the impact? Sure. I would focus on reducing inflammation by avoiding inflammatory foods. Consider an autoimmune paleo protocol for that, for dietary stuff. Reducing as much stress outside of that as you can. I would actually try to stick to the same schedule all the time and get blackout shades and make your room pitch black and use the light boxes to recreate the day and the nighttime. And I mean, there's ways to do it.
Or try and visualize. It's going to sound crazy, but try and allow yourself to imagine some way that you can not have a night shift. And that's the ultimate, but I mean that's just about is that even a possibility? And maybe allow yourself the latitude to consider that being a possibility, and then and maybe allow that thought to come into your head and see if that's something that you can maybe someday down the road figure out a way to get out of that situation. That's why I think. Yeah,
that's the answer I would give too, and it's tough. Like it's
a tough answer to give.
Life circumstances. So, 2 more quick questions, and then we want to share a special with you guys, an offer for sticking with us too. We want to give you something because I know Mike dropped off and we dropped off like 2 people the whole time. Like we're just as strong as we were at the beginning. So we want to reward you guys for sticking around. So real quick, Leanne, the Sleep Cycle app on my phone, and it's been really helpful, but I worry about having my phone plugged in and next to my head all night. HeartMath is a lot more expensive though. Just how bad is what I'm doing now? Me personally, one, I don't believe in the accuracy of sleep cycle apps on phones. I don't believe it has any real way to measure that unless it's hooking electrodes up to your brain waves, in which case you probably don't want to sleep with a machine like that around your head all the time. Watch Lloyd Burrell's interview. Lloyd's interview on EMFs for our program was, you'll never sleep with a phone in your room again if you watch it. So I wouldn't recommend using that. HeartMath is a different thing. HeartMath is super cool. Mike loves it, and it's backed by tons of research, and it's about heart rate variability. I said quick answer, so I'm not going to get into it, but HeartMath is really cool. HeartMath is something you would do before you went to bed or throughout the day, where you learn how to get your body into a state of coherence. It's similar to biohacking meditation, is how I would say it. It teaches you a way to get the physical benefits of meditation without sitting on a cushion and meditating by using this technology. And it's really cool, but it's not used in bed. It's like a before bed thing, so it's kind of different. And then there's one more. Thank you, Julie. You're awesome. Thank you, Marianne. You're awesome. Thank you, Jan, for that answer. You're awesome. We have a cool audience tonight, Joe.
Yeah, really cool.
And the other one was the Candida one. Do you see the Candida one?
Oh, yeah, I did see that. I was going to bring that up.
Leslie, how can I detox Candida albicans safely? My heart rate and food sensitivities were elevated while I was making some progress in eliminating intestinal Candida. Do you have some suggestions to deal with this and getting rid of long-term Candida intestinal, Leslie? Your heart rate and food sensitivities were elevated while you were making progress. Now,
could that have been?
Yeah, die off, but also it depends on what you were eating or doing. Like, there's not enough here to answer that part of it, but there's a huge misconception around Candida that I wouldn't mind clearing up real quick. Candida is a symptom. It's not a root cause of health issues. People want to like in detox and cleanse. There's so much. I actually got brought into Paleo FX as the expert to give a presentation on busting myths and things around. Keith Norris used some other choice language for myths, but mistruths around detoxes and cleanses. So I will be presenting at Paleo FX next month on that topic. Candida albicans is something that's found in your gut, and it's supposed to be there.
Right.
It's not something that's invasive.
The way people talk about Candida is the way people used to talk about. A lot of people still do talk about cholesterol. Let's just get it to 0, and it'll be healthy. It's like neither of those statements are true. Yeah, it's a normal.
Yeah, you get cholesterol to 0, and you'll be dead in an hour. So, Candida serves a purpose. It actually, some researchers believe that it's protective in a certain way. Like, Candida loves mercury. Candida also loves copper. So if someone's copper toxic or mercury toxic, the Candida overgrowth is going to continually come back. And it sequesters those things. It not eats it, but I don't know the right biological. We'll ask Karan next time we talk to Karan the right biological word. But Candida sequesters, or it loves copper and
in some way. Yeah.
So, but if it's dealing with that, you're not, which is good for you. But it does cause problems itself when it's overgrown. But if your GI situation is inflamed, if your GI immune function is out of whack, which we talked about Monday night, if you don't have the right flora or microbiome in your gut, certain hormone imbalances play a role. All those things make it hospitable for Candida to overgrow. The biggest one is antibiotics. Antibiotics kill bacteria. It does not kill fungus or yeast. So think of your gut as like a real estate. You know, like this is what is that game? Is it Monopoly? Whatever. So the antibiotics clear half the board, and that's all the bacteria. The fungus and yeast then are like, oh sweet, you know, this lot just opened up next door. I'm gonna go over there. So there's actions that can be taken with antibiotics to reduce that, but antibiotic use plus copper, mercury toxicity, plus GI inflammation, leaky gut issues, hormone imbalances, and there's also mental emotional components to Candida overgrowth. Emma Lane talked a little bit about that in her interview. I'm going to have her back for another interview to talk about that for an hour on mental emotional connections to GI overgrowths and infections. She has 25 years of experience She was a Czech faculty member at the Czech Institute, which is complete holistic. She's awesome. So I don't know enough about that to jump into that, so I didn't even mean to mention that one. But there's a lot of factors that play into Candida. I'm not a proponent of treating the Candida itself. I like to try to create an environment that's not hospitable to overgrowth, if that's an answer to your question. So
yeah,
Joe's on the same page with that, I'm pretty
totally,
sure.
yeah, absolutely, yeah, for sure.
So
And that's again why that's why the way we set up the Primal90 system is we talk a lot about mindset and getting your mind right, because that's sort of the you can picture everything else is downstream. So if you start working on that first, it's going to make the rest of the journey a whole heck of a lot easier. So
first 2 units. That's why the first 2 units. And somebody mentioned they didn't realize the interviews were in a specific order. They weren't. You're not crazy. They weren't in a specific order for the month-long event. They are grouped together in specific groupings for this encore week, just to keep similar ones together. We kind of wanted themes. But in the program itself, there's going to be 12 modules. If you buy it, you're going to get access to the interviews right now. You'll just go to a page where all the interviews are. You'll just get those right away. The modules themselves, the weekly modules, start on March 15th. When that happens, each module is going to have those videos that are appropriate to that module placed in the module with my video, with Diane's video. We've created so many different guides and checklists and worksheets and tools. That'll be in there. Resources tab with links to books and websites and things like that that additionally would be beneficial to you. So we will be grouping them for convenience sake and for fluidity, because I reference some of the interviews like we did here tonight in my videos. So does Diane. So we want them all to be in one location for you to see them all together. The modules will come out 1 week at a time, which is mine and Diane's presentations and the tools and all that stuff. Honestly, if we threw all the stuff on your lap at one time, you'd spin around in circles and not know what the hell to do, and you'd be posting in somebody else's webinar saying, I don't know what to do because I'm so overwhelmed with all the information.
Right, exactly. So we took a lot of time and designed this thing in a way that makes a lot of sense for everyone. And so you're going to get this stuff in the order you should be getting it, and given the tools that you need to really work on it in a really in-depth and reasonable way. So
Joe, let's give them something.
Yeah, so thanks for hanging out, even though Mike Mutzel dropped off earlier. For those of you that are on this webinar, and this is only for you that are on this webinar, about a year ago I did something called Primal Cooking Workshop, and that was with people like Diane Sanfilippo, George Bryant, Haley and Bill Staley, Stephanie from Stupid Easy Paleo, a ton of people. Like there's 15 different videos on that. It was a ton of fun. People absolutely loved it. It's basically all these people, a lot of the people that a lot of you probably follow their blogs, teaching us how to cook. Basically teaching me how to cook, and we filmed the whole thing, and it was incredibly useful. I'm going to give that to whoever picks up the Primal90 system tonight. Anyone who's on this webinar, I'm going to give that to you. So if you go now to Primal90.com and pick that up, email me at wellnesspunks.com. This was just on the fly. I just messaged Mike and said I'm going to do this.
I didn't even know what he was going to say. I just wanted him to give you something. Joe's the keeper of the things, so.
I have all the things. So if you buy that, if you go to Primal90.com and pick that up, email me at wellnesspunks.com, wellnesspunks@gmail.com with the receipt that you get from that, and I will hook you up with all 15, actually I think it's 16 Primal Cooking Workshop videos.
That's probably worth as much as we're charging for the entire program.
Yeah, almost. It's actually sells for $67, so you guys have that for free. Also, a lot of people were asking us if there's any way to get a payment plan on this. Yes. So we set that up this afternoon. You can actually jump into the Primal90 system right now for $50. So it normally sells for $147, so $49 you can jump in there right now, and then that'll just be 3 payments. So we kept racking our brains trying to figure out a way to do this so money was not an issue. And so, like I said, we spent the last couple of years really listening to people like you guys and telling us what it is that you needed, what it is that you wanted. The feedback that we got at the summits are great, but it's too overwhelming. There are some e-courses out there, but they lack some of the information. They lack some of the diversity from the different speakers like summits had. And so we're like, huh, that's simple. We'll just kind of bring them together and then add a bunch of other stuff to it. And that's exactly what we did. So like I said, we're going to continue to listen to you guys, continue to deliver what it is that you want us to deliver to you, and do it in a way that enables everyone to get in. There are 5 pillars. So we have 5 pillars to this. The modules are one, and like Mike said, the modules have the interviews folded into them, so it's paired with the information that you're getting is paired with more information and action steps, practical guides, checklists, things like that, so no stone is unturned. So that's one aspect of this. Those interviews are another pillar of the Prima90. All 32 expert interviews, which basically we're throwing in for free. You buy the system, we're giving you those interviews.
Those summits usually go for about $150. So,
yeah, so we're selling this entire system for
we're kind of just throwing that in there for free.
Yeah, we're going to do monthly Q&A webinars like this one. It'll be me, Mike, and Diane, and we're also going to bring back some of the experts. We're going to introduce new experts to you. A lot of people didn't hear Karan before we did this, and he was one of the more popular interviewees.
Karan is now an internet sensation.
Yeah, exactly. Dr. Satcham Tell is another one who was just, his interview was incredible. So we're going to keep, scouring the internet for people like that. For us, it's not about, the size of their email list or, how popular they are. We want to introduce you to people who matter and people who are going to make a difference in your lives. And so we're going to continue to do that with monthly webinars. There's going to be a buyers club, and Mike's been working his butt off on this. I think what have we got, 20, 25 companies in there now? Something like that, Mike?
There are 25 companies right now in the Buyers Club. If you go to the Prima90.com page, there's an image that has a whole bunch of the logos on it. Right off the top of my head, Nick Wallace from Wallace Farms, maker of Nick's Sticks, has given us a really good deal. I don't remember what he gave us. I think it's 15% off, maybe more, but something like that, of Nick's Sticks, which are great snacks. We've got Squatty Potty. We've got Fat Face Skincare, which is really good stuff. We got Bedrock Living, which is another really good clean skincare. Holistic Science Company, which is right down the street from me, and they make awesome clean products. Squatty Potty, I think I said. We've got Paleo on the Go, which is a meal delivery service. We got Pete's Paleo, which is another meal delivery service. We got thebrothery.com, Chef Lance Roll, who's the man when it comes to broth. He's been making broth. He's been on Sean Croxton shows. He's been on with Paul Chek. He's been making broth and shipping broth since before broth was cool. And he gave us, I think it's 10% discount on broth. I know Carlton Nutrition, the Carltons did an interview with us. They gave us some discounts, and it's going to double. I'm gonna double the amount of companies in that pretty soon. I've been working really hard on putting this thing together, and we're gonna turn our attention towards the Buyers Club and pick it up.
Yeah, we want to make sure that the system is basically paid for. You get into the system, like I said, you can get into it right now for $50, and you use some of the coupon codes, buy some of the products. A lot of people here are probably buying stuff from these companies to begin with. If not, you probably should be, because they're great. They're great stuff. You'll pay for the program, easy. And so we want to make sure that you put everything.
It's funny. I actually had to reword how I approach these companies, because my initial approach is it's stuff our audience is likely either purchasing already or is super likely to purchase. Well, in that aspect, if they're already purchasing it, it kind of doesn't motivate the company to give them a discount.
Right.
So I left that out when I was talking to them, but I thought about that. I'm like, I shouldn't tell them that our people already buy all their things. But
it's good for you, not good for the company.
Yeah, no, but they're cool. They were so cool. They're really excited. All the companies, half of them are promoting our event right now, and our affiliates with us and promoting what we're doing. I'm gonna do some. Chef Lance is here in San Diego, so he's invited me to do some cooking demonstrations with him and come over to his kitchen and do some stuff over there. So we're gonna do some stuff with Chef Lance, and that's gonna be awesome. I'm trying to think who else is on there. Oh, Jerky's Gourmet is a grass-fed beef jerky that's local here that I found at a farmer's market. He's even made a couple new paleo flavors that are like like have almost no sweetener in them. You cannot make jerky without any sweetener, so do not freak out if there's a little honey or something in there. But I think he made some with honey specifically for our audience because he knew that they wouldn't be on some of the sweeteners that are in some of them. But awesome grass-fed jerky, and he's a cool guy. Just a little startup company. Local guy, only does farmers markets, so you're going to be getting awesome grass-fed beef jerky from farmers markets here in San Diego that he can ship anywhere in the country. He's going to discount it. But did you get through all of them? Was the Buyers Club the last one?
No, there's one more thing. The Casandrino's olive oil, which I'm sure a lot of you know.
Yeah, Tony.
FDN, if anyone's interested in FDN, you're going to get a tremendous discount on that. And the most, the one we
Reed gave us a crazy discount.
Yeah.
Anyone who's interested in going through the FDN program, it's going to take off like 2 car payments worth of money on that.
Exactly. And then Megaspore. Megaspore is the other one. We were just talking about Megaspore.
Oh yeah, Megaspore Probiotic is on there too.
Yep, so you're going to get a discount code for Megaspore. And then finally the meal plan, which we talked about before, the meal plan sort of system. 9 different meal plans, over 200 something recipes in there. So for everything from SCD to basic real food to low carb, like lowish carb, highish carb, all real food. Let's see what else is in there.
A lot of people know Kelly Morrill. She's designing them for us. So
autoimmune paleo, low histamine, low histamine and low FODMAPs is the one that's usually really confusing for a lot of people. It's confusing for me actually. But
they're tricky, man. They're tricky.
They are.
Those are tricky diets to figure out, and they're tricky diets to cook for. And since it's a 30-day meal plan, people are like, I don't like to eat the same thing all the time. 30 days is a big rotation. So like you could go through that for a few months, not get sick of the food, and it's practical, it's easy to do. We're not, like I said, it's not going to be crazy exotic ingredients or difficult recipes to make or anything like that. We wanted them to be basic.
Easy.
We wanted them to be basic for people.
Plus, you guys are going to get the Primal Cooking Workshop, which has you actually get a cookbook with that too. All the recipes that we cook in the Primal Cooking Workshop, there's like 50 recipes in there too. So there's another little bonus.
And Jen Fugo, Camille, we have a lot of videos, interviews, and segments that are. I mean, Jen was how to go gluten-free without breaking the bank or going crazy, I think. And her interview is awesome. Tons of practical tips in there. Camille, who now has the
Camille's Paleo Kitchen.
Primal Kitchen, Paleo Cooking Show. Maybe if this does well enough, you'll see a Prima90 episode on there with me and Joe on TV doing some paleo
not to
cooking.
burn the house down.
I came up with an idea the other night. I'm going to strap a GoPro to my head and just film myself making dinner every night and turn it into a blog, video blog on our website. I'll edit them, of course, to make it actually so you don't have to sit there watch me chop onions the whole time. But we got all kinds of ideas of things to add, and we're going to be adding more content too. We're not done interviewing people. We're going to be adding more modules. There's topics that need to be discussed further. We want to have an autoimmune module. We want to have I don't even know, the chronic infections, Lyme disease, that gets asked a lot, like things like that. So we want to get into more detail with more modules. We just wanted to get this base program off the ground and get people rolling with it and start building a community around it to grow from and go from there.
That's the first thing, And the way we've set this up is that we can continue to add modules to it and dig much deeper into more niche topics. So like Mike said, autoimmune, digestion, chronic infections, depression is another one we're gonna get into. So we've got some big stuff. And you guys are actually every time we release a module, you guys are going to get like an insane discount on the new modules. Rather, like the general public is going to pay the normal $50-$60 for a module, and you guys will get it for like 80% off. It's good, just because you're a part of the family now.
And regarding the Buyers Club, you can help me out. If there's a product or a service, and we have pretty strict standards with it. So like things got to be clean, high quality. We want to recommend the best things possible. But if you have a product or a service or a business or something that you use, that you like, that you know about, that I should look at to see if I could get it into the Buyers Club, I'm willing to contact just about anybody. And now that this has become what it is, we've got a lot of pull. So we've got a strong audience, a strong base, a big membership. So plus a lot of other companies on board. So if there's something specific, let us know. We'll try to get it added. Most companies have been pretty cool about giving us discounts, and they want to be part of it, and they want to, we're going to throw together, I've had 5, I don't even know if I told you this, Joe, but I've had 5 of the companies saw our giveaway last week, or this week that we're doing right now. By the way, there's a massive giveaway. Go to the Rebel Health Tribe Facebook page. There's a massive $1,100 giveaway of signed books and all kinds of other goodies, so go win that. But the companies for the Buyers Club saw that, and three or four companies in the last 2 days have emailed me asking if they could be in a giveaway. So I think we should throw together another giveaway with just stuff from the Buyers Club companies to do soon too.
Cool, for sure.
But if anybody has any questions about it, I mean, it's $50 to jump in. It's really, I charge more than the cost of the program for a single consult.
Also, we're giving you a money back guarantee. So so the 30-day money back guarantee is going to start from when you get the first module, so you have time to look over it. So you can jump into the module for 4 weeks, and for whatever reason, if it doesn't jive with you or it's just not working, it's just there's something in there if you don't like Mike's beard, then just email us and we'll get a refund. So there's literally we tried to think of every last thing we could think of to make this as easy as possible for you guys to jump in. So you wanted a payment plan, boom. You want basically zero financial risk whatsoever. If you're not happy with the program, then just let us know. You get a refund. No hard feelings.
And
except
people
if
ask,
you don't like Mike's beard, he might have hard feelings. I don't know.
It's going to be fun because the interviews are not in sequential order. If they were, I didn't shave my beard through the duration of filming all my interviews. So I believe JP Sears, which that will shatter your universe if you watch it.
Yeah.
JP Sears,
in a good way.
He's been more influential on me as a coach and a mentor than any practitioner or other professional that I've personally worked with in 7 years, which is a lot of them. JP is an extremely gifted and unique individual when it comes to emotional healing and emotional health. But anyways, I believe either his or Michael McAvoy, one of those two is the first interview I did, and then Lloyd Burrell is the last one. And so if you want to, you can try to chart the progression of the beard. It's back to small now, though. I got reprimanded a little bit. But so basically, people ask, what's in the program? It's everything I want my clients to know. We teach we kind of got together, and between the complaints about the summits being too overwhelming and not having any specific instruction on what to do with the information, coupled with the fact that as practitioners we were teaching people the same stuff over and over and over and over and over, we just figured out a way to combine the two.
Right.
So that we're going to create a professional tool out of this too that practitioners can use to educate clients and patients. So you've got issues. Well, let's look at Unit 3. Let's look at this. Let's look at that. And so it's everything that I would teach a client if I had 25 hours to sit down with each client, which at my normal hourly rate is going to cost way too much money, and it's just not feasible, and it's not, it's not something that can be done. And I want everyone to have this information, and our marketing people told us we were insane. Like, I even got an email from my dad. I don't know if my parents or anyone's on here, but I got an email from my dad this morning responding to, I sent an email out to my personal email list yesterday announcing, the program was for sale and et cetera, and he reprimanded me for making it as cheap as it is. And that was like, his response was like, what the hell are you doing? This, should be like $500. And I'm like, well, it should be, but it's not, because we want it to go to thousands of people.
We'd rather just get it out to more people than I mean, it's the whole point. What are we doing this for if we can't reach as many people as we possibly can? Like, what's the point? We don't want 100 people to buy it at $500. We want we want 1,000 people to buy it.
We'd give it away for free if we hadn't taken off work for the last 5 months to do it.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I haven't taken a new client in 4 months.
Yeah, me either. And if my 3-year-old son didn't eat like a man, I might be able to afford to give it away. He eats more than I do. So yeah, go.
If anybody has any questions at all about any of it or anything else, you know, we've 2 hours and we still got a ton of people on here. We dropped off very little.
Hmm.
If anybody has any questions about the program or, you know,
Anything.
anything else real quick,
Hmm.
uh, feel free to ask us. We'll do another 5 minutes. If needed, we'll cut it 2 hours. Jesus, Quran was 2.5 hours.
Yep.
These are, you know, we don't mind staying here with you guys. So 5 more minutes. Tomorrow night, I believe it's 1 hour later. It's going to be 6 o'clock Pacific, 9
Hmm.
o'clock Eastern. Dr. Schuler is at an expo here on the West Coast, so he actually adjusted 2 meeting times to be able to jump on with us.
Yeah.
He's awesome. I think he's on the board for the Institute for Functional Medicine. I mean, if you go to his website, he's got like 7,000 credentials, and he's super cool guy, really down to earth. Joe did the interview with him
Hmm. Nice guy.
on fairly
Super
short
smart.
notice, and he was great. Like
Yep.
he's brilliant. So we're talking all men's health tomorrow night. But if there's something else you want to ask him about, I know there were a couple of questions here that I said hold those till tomorrow night. Come back and talk to Corey.
Yeah,
He'll be happy
hormones
to
in
answer.
general. He's super smart with anything hormones in general. He also runs like a headache clinic too, so that's a really interesting niche too.
Yeah, if you got chronic headaches,
Yeah.
if somebody you know does, have him log on tomorrow night. But
Hmm.
tomorrow night's going to be Corey. Saturday night, Joe and I are not allowed. Diane's running a ladies' night with Stephanie Rupert and Danny J. It's not going to be live because Stephanie's touring Europe right now, but I know they recorded that today. They took lists of questions from their audience, their list, and
Yeah.
their people. And Diane said it was tons of fun and it was a blast and they had a great time. So there is a Saturday evening ladies' night, Prima90 style, all things women's hormones, PCOS, infertility, any type of you know, weight loss or self-image issues
Yeah.
or any of the things that women commonly bring up to us. They are going to be tackling them all on Saturday. That will be recorded and up for a few days also. All these live webinars are recorded and they're in the Encore lobby with the Encore videos right there. So
Speaking of weight loss, Pam asked, will the program be good for someone with significant amount of weight to lose? We have a module specifically on weight loss. And again, just from us working with clients, there's a lot of mistruths about what to do as far as weight loss and where to start. And so, again, we talked to a lot of experts on this, and the module is amazing, and it's going to help. I have
I
no
did a video
reservation
for that
whatsoever
one.
saying that. Yeah, it's.
I did a video for that one, and I outlined all the different factors that play into weight loss because a lot of people don't even understand, you know, what could cause it to be stubborn or what triggers it, and it's not calories in, calories out. I mean, that's a factor, but I kind of broke down all the different factors that play a role in weight loss, and what it turned out is that those are the other modules. So a little overview of everything that plays into weight loss, and then each module is going to be a much deeper dive into each one of those aspects. I would highly recommend on Sunday. I believe it's Sunday is the last day of the Encore, right, Joe?
I think Sunday or Monday, yeah.
Sunday, I think it's Sunday is the last day the videos are airing. Catch Dr. Sachin Patel's interview.
Yeah,
it's on weight loss. I did an interview with him. The guy's a rock star. His approach and his philosophy and his words are, you know, brilliant on the subject, and I interviewed him for an hour on weight loss. That will re-air on Sunday. You'll get it, you know, immediately right now if, you know, you sign up for the program. But he's awesome, and we're doing a live Q&A webinar with him on the topic of weight loss on next Monday night. So he's the founder of the Living Proof Institute in Toronto.
So last chance. We're going to hang out for a couple more minutes. Last chance for you guys to head over to Prima90.com and pick that up. And then don't forget to email me with the receipt, and I will forward you the information on how to get into Primal Cooking Workshop, which was it's a blast to watch. We had so much fun making it. It's basically a cooking show with your favorite paleo people.
What about the people who bought last night? They're all asking me, Joe. They're all here right now, but they bought last night. Can they send you their receipt?
Yeah, go for it. That's fine. Whatever. Do it. Why not? It's
let's just give away the barn.
Yeah, why not? But listen, give me a day or two to go through the emails and get the information together. Because like I said, if I knew I was going to do this, I would have had it automated already, but I didn't. So, but I don't care. I'm here for you guys.
You're
Yeah,
crazy.
send me the stuff, and I will. Give
I'll
you a
give away
couple of
free
days.
high fives if anybody makes it to San Diego or lives in Southern California.
Just a high five. At least a hug.
High hugs. We'll go surfing. What do you want to do? I got an extra surfboard right there.
Yeah.
And I'm not nearly good enough at that yet to teach anyone, but we can go flop around in the water together.
Yeah. By the way, and then Tuesday we're going to do a marathon Q&A webinar with Mike, Diane, and myself. And basically, as long as you guys have questions, we will have answers. And if it takes 3 hours,
Literally.
4 hours, or we will until one of us passes out. Actually, I think that we made that into a contest. The last one standing is going to win something. So we're going to do that for you guys, and then after that is when the price goes up on the Prima90 system. It's going to go from the 147 that it is now to 197, and then when we reintroduce a new module, we're going to relaunch the thing, and over the summer it's going to go up again because we're going to add more content to it. So you guys are the early adopters, so you guys are getting this deal now, and because if you're here on this webinar right now at 10 o'clock at night, at least here on the East Coast, then you guys are dedicated. Thank you for hanging out with us for 2 hours and hanging in there, even though Mike Mutzel dropped off. So
yeah, thank you so much for sticking around. We didn't get any drop off when Mike fell off. We actually got a couple extra people came on and they stayed. I mean, we're we can answer a lot of these questions too. We're trying to feature the guests, and Mike knows more than I do about some of that stuff by a long shot. Mike's a research maniac, but we'll figure out some way to get him back on. Maybe we'll do another webinar with him in the next week, and we'll invite everyone on our Prima90 audience to come back on with him. But he just sent me a Facebook message.
If he's coming on,
it wouldn't let him in.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It's all good. No,
Let's do it.
No, he's not coming back on now. But I'm gonna line something up with him. He says he's really sorry. His phone died.
It's fine.
Yeah, he's dealing
we'll get
with
him back
stuff,
on.
but he's gonna. We'll get him back on. But thank you so much for sticking around with us. Pat your guys selves on the back. These are some advanced questions. These aren't regular questions that we would get from generally from clients. And Krishnan on Monday night commented that he speaks at medical conferences every weekend, and that the questions, I don't know if he said it on the air or if he texted me afterwards, but he said that he speaks at medical conferences every weekend to doctors about Megaspore biotic and probiotics and gut flora, and he said that the questions that our audience asked him during the webinar were more in-depth and more well-researched than what he runs into with doctors.
I have to just say,
pat yourselves on the back.
Christine just asked, see, this is how you know we're selling it too cheap. Christine said, do we pay once or for each module? No, that's the price for the whole thing. 147 is for the whole thing. All 12 modules, all 5 of those pillars we talked about. That's the whole shebang bang you guys are getting for 147. Or you could break it up into 3 payments of like $50 each. So here we go. I want to give away at least 50 of those Primal Cooking Workshops. So go help me out. Let me do that. But give me a lot of work to do tomorrow. All right. Should we end it on that note? Did we lose Mike now?
No, I'm talking to Mike Mutzel.
Oh, are you? Okay.
Yeah, he said he's really sorry about that. His phone gave him a 20% warning, and then it kind of just died, and he couldn't get it back up. He said he'd be happy to come on again in the near future, and he apologizes to everybody, and thank you for sticking around, and that he's sorry. But no, Mike's a cool guy. He didn't mean to do that. So.
Oh, totally, yeah. If anyone's fumbling around with like trying to frantically get your credit card out or anything like that to get relax, we'll go until say midnight on the East Coast. So if anyone gets it before midnight, it was in this. Obviously, if you're in this webinar, if you're not in this webinar,
if
you won't know about it.
The webinar, they wouldn't know.
Right, exactly. So if you're in this webinar and you grab it before midnight on the East Coast, then okay, I got you, Christine. But that's for any new modules that we introduce later on. So okay, midnight tonight on the East Coast. You can still email me the receipt, and I will get you the Primal Cooking Workshop as well as on top of everything else. So thank you so much, folks, for hanging out with us, for sticking with us. You guys are amazing, and we look forward to connecting with everyone on the next webinar, and we look forward to working with everyone starting March 15th. All right? Good night, folks. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And if you're not live on this and you're watching the recording and you try to get your thing from Joe, show up live at the next webinar.
Oh, great. You just throw me under the bus there. I guess I'm giving it away again on the next one.
No. I just meant you missed out because you weren't live. But
right, exactly. That's right. Right.
Thank you so much for sticking around, everybody.
We'll give something else
away. This has been a lot of fun. And
Michael,
we're going to be here most nights. So.
Mike will give away the shirt off of his back on the next
one. This Ocean Beach shirt. We will do that. So, cool.
All right, folks. Thank you.
Have a good night. Peace.
Bye-bye.